He only wanted to draw, but one wrong night in the wrong street stole his freedom. Now behind bars, John has only one weapon left, his art. John's hands were trembling. He was only 18 years old, and for the first time in his life he was sitting in the back seat of a police car. The handcuffs hurt his wrists, but the physical pain was nothing. The real pain was that terrible emptiness growing inside him. Outside city lights were rushing past, but John saw nothing. His eyes were fixed on emptiness. His mind was only repeating one thing: I didn't do it. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. A few hours ago, everything was normal. John had been sitting under a street lamp drawing the city's silhouette in his worn notebook. Art was everything to him. He had no family, no money, no home, but as long as his hand held a pencil he felt free. That night was the same until the gunshots were heard. Running men, screams, breaking glass. And then police. John didn't run. He had no reason to. But when the police saw him in the darkness, they thought his pencil was something else. Drop your weapon. Get on the ground. John raised his hands, dropped the pencil, lay down. I have to arrest you, said the officer. John didn't object. Nobody would listen anyway. They never had. His parents died when he was 9 in a car accident. Foster families couldn't keep him. At 16 he ran away to the streets. His only friend was art. Now that too was taken from him. At the station John was thrown into a cold cell. Hours passed. Nobody came. Nobody believed him. But what John didn't know yet was that this night he wouldn't only lose his freedom. Morning came. Get up, said a guard. You're going to court. John was confused. But I haven't even given a statement. No lawyer, no witness. Shut up and get up. Now. The court process was a nightmare. The hall was cold and crowded. Jury members, prosecutor, judge, everyone was there. But for John there was nobody. No lawyer, no witnesses, no family. Just a child sitting alone while a judge called him guilty. There was no evidence. Only suspicion. What were you doing there at that hour? Asked the prosecutor. I was drawing, said John. Drawing? At midnight in the middle of a gunfight? Yes. An incredible coincidence, isn't it? The prosecutor turned to the jury. This boy is either incredibly unlucky or incredibly dishonest. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, guilty. John felt nothing. The judge struck the gavel. 2 years in prison. John's world stopped. The last piece of hope in his heart broke. As he was taken out, he looked back. Nobody was there. The prison was enormous, grey, cold and frightening. Iron gates, barbed wires, watchtowers. When the doors closed behind him, that sound came. That heavy cold sound of finality. This is what the end of freedom sounds like. The first days were torture. John sat silently in his cell. The cell was small, just 2 bunks, a table, a toilet. No window. The prisoners around him were tough, dangerous people. Some looked at him, some laughed, some threatened. New kid, said one. Looks pretty sweet. John didn't respond. He just retreated to his corner. Night came. John couldn't sleep. Sounds from around were terrible. Shouting, cursing, crying, doors slamming. John closed his eyes and tried to imagine the times he was free. But even dreams couldn't save him anymore. Next day, breakfast in the cafeteria. Hundreds of prisoners moving at once. The noise was incredible. John got in line, took food, and sat in a corner. The food was cold and tasteless. But he had to eat. To survive. While eating, someone sat across from him. A huge man, muscular arms, tattoos on his face. "You're the new kid, right?" John nodded. "This isn't an easy place. If you want to survive, you need protection." John swallowed. "I just want peace." The man laughed. "Peace? There's no peace here, kid. Only survivors and the dead." It was at this exact moment that everything changed. As the man left, two guards approached. "Get up. The warden wants to see you." John was surprised. Why would the warden want to see him? He followed the guards through corridors. Prisoners looked at him. "The new kid is seeing the warden," they whispered. "Either very lucky or very unlucky." The warden's office was surprisingly organized. Large desk, leather chairs, certificates on walls. The warden sat behind his desk. Middle-aged, graying hair, stern expression. "Sit down." John Saturday. The warden opened a file. John, 18 years old, no criminal record, no family. He looked at John. "Why are you here?" John took a deep breath. "Because I'm innocent." The warden raised his eyebrows. "Everyone here says that." "But I really am innocent," said John. "I was just drawing." Wrong place, wrong time. The warden looked at John for a long time. Then closed the file. "Look, John, whether I believe you or not doesn't matter. This is prison. You're a prisoner. That's how the system works." John's hope died. The warden continued. "But if you want to survive here and maybe get released early, I have a chance for you." "What chance?" "Rehabilitation program. We help prisoners develop themselves. Art, music, writing. Good behavior gets sentence reductions." John's heart raced. "Art?" "Yes. I draw," said John excitedly. "I mean, I used to. Now I don't have materials." The warden raised his hand. "The program starts next week. If you want to join, I'll add you to the list. But remember, this is a privilege. Misbehave and you're out." John nodded. "I understand. Thank you." That day, when John returned to his cell, a tiny light of hope sparkled inside him. Maybe he had a chance. But the most shocking thing was a truth John didn't know yet. That night a new prisoner was placed in his cell. When the man entered, John raised his head. The man was old, about 60, white hair, face full of deep lines. But strange softness in his eyes. The man quietly entered, put his things on the upper bunk, and sat without saying anything. John didn't look at him. Making friends here was dangerous. But the man looked at John. For a long time. "Did you used to draw?" Marcus asked quietly. John froze. He raised his head and looked into Marcus's eyes. Shocked. "How did you know?" Marcus smiled. Tired, sad but sincere smile. "The ink stains on your hands. The pencil marks on your fingertips. And more importantly, that emptiness in your eyes. Artists look like that when they lose their freedom. I used to look like that too." John's eyes filled. Nobody had understood him this well. But this old man had read John's soul in seconds. "I can't draw anymore," said John in a broken voice. "I don't have a pencil. I don't have paper. I have nothing." Marcus slowly reached under his bed and pulled out something. A small old notebook and a short pencil piece. "Take it," said Marcus. "I'm giving this to you. But on one condition: you'll draw something here every day. Every day. Whether you're happy or sad. Hopeless or angry. Doesn't matter. But you'll draw. Deal?" John took the notebook. With trembling fingers he flipped through pages. Blank pages. Infinite possibilities. And at that moment, for the first time since entering prison, a tiny light sparkled inside John. "Why?" asked John. "Why are you giving this to me?" Marcus bowed his head. Because someone gave it to me too. A very long time ago. And I lost it. I lost my art. But I don't want you to lose yours. John couldn't hold back tears. Thank you, he said quietly. Marcus smiled. Don't thank me. Just draw. From that night on, John drew every day. Sometimes cell walls, sometimes Marcus's face, sometimes the light bulb. Sometimes landscapes from imagination. As he drew, he began to breathe. As he drew, he began to live again. Marcus watched every drawing. He didn't say anything, but the pride in his eyes said everything. Sometimes he gave advice. Make the shadow darker. Soften that line. John listened. And he got better every day. Days became weeks. A silent friendship formed between John and Marcus. They didn't talk much, but they understood each other. You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. A month later, the rehabilitation program started. John was surprised the warden kept his word. His name was on the list. First day, prisoners gathered in a meeting hall. Large table in middle, chairs around it. On walls were painting supplies, musical instruments, books. When John entered, he felt warm inside. This place was different from the rest of prison. This place was alive. The door opened and a young woman came in. Her name was Sarah. About 27, long brown hair, and real compassion sparkled in her eyes. Hello, said Sarah. I'm Sarah. I'm an art teacher. From now on, I'll work with you here 3 days a week. Our goal isn't just to make paintings. To express ourselves, understand our emotions, and maybe find beauty within us. Prisoners listened silently. Some with interest, some with suspicion. Sarah continued. I'll tell you something. I'm not interested in your crimes. To me, you are artists. And every artist has a story. Let's draw those stories together. John's heart started beating fast. Sarah's words touched him directly. After class, John approached Sarah shyly. Excuse me, he said. Sarah turned. Yes? I draw, said John. I mean, I'm trying to. But there's no materials. Sarah smiled. Can you show me? John hesitated. Then pulled out the notebook Marcus gave him. He opened pages. Inside were hundreds of drawings. Cell walls, Marcus's portrait, imaginary landscapes, dark corridors, iron bars. Each drawing was an emotion, a memory, a scream. As Sarah looked at pages, her eyes widened. Then she looked at John. Incredible astonishment in her eyes. This is incredible, she said. You're a real artist, John. John shyly bowed his head. I just draw. I have nothing else to do. Sarah shook her head. No, John. You're not just drawing. You're telling stories. And these stories are deep, painful, but very beautiful. These are stories people need to see. John raised his eyes. Do you really think so? Yes, said Sarah with determination. And I'm going to make you an offer. At the end of the program, we'll organize an exhibition. People from outside will come. If you want, we can exhibit your works too. Maybe someone will see your innocence. Maybe someone will hear your story. John's heart was about to burst. A hope. Tiny, fragile, but a real hope. Yes, said John. Yes, please. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. From that night on, John drew like crazy. Every day, every hour. Now not just in his cell, but also in the workshop. Sarah gave him new materials. Real pencils, colored pastels, quality papers. When John took them in his hands, he cried. These were the things he had been missing for so long. And he started drawing. The first thing he drew was a new portrait of Marcus. but this time more detailed, more emotional, more vivid. The sadness in Marcus's eyes, the lines on his forehead, the tiredness on his face. He captured it all. When Marcus saw the drawing, his eyes filled. "This is this me?" he said quietly. John smiled. "Yes. This is how I see you." Marcus nodded. He didn't say anything, but that moment said everything. Weeks passed. John got better and better. His drawings weren't just technically good anymore, they were also very powerful emotionally. Sarah was amazed every time. "You're extraordinary," she would say. "When you get out of here, you'll be an artist." For the first time, John believed his dreams could come true. But that night Marcus got sick. After dinner, when they returned to the cell, Marcus lay down and didn't get up again. His fever was very high, sweating, having trouble breathing. John banged on the door in panic. "Help! Marcus is sick. Please, someone help." But nobody came. Hours passed. Marcus's condition was getting worse. His lips had turned purple, body shaking, eyes closing. John didn't sleep that night. He sat next to Marcus, held his hand tightly, and told him stories. His childhood, his parents, the first picture he drew, his dreams. Marcus's eyes were closing, but John kept talking. Because he knew if he stayed silent, he would lose Marcus. "Please don't go," John whispered. "You're everything to me. You gave me my life back. Please stay here." Toward morning, a doctor finally came. Marcus was taken to emergency room. When John got the call 3 days later, his life would change completely. 3 days after Marcus was taken to hospital were the longest 3 days for John. Every minute felt like an hour. The cell was even emptier now, even colder. Marcus's bed was neat and abandoned. But every time John looked, he saw him there. John couldn't draw anymore. When he had a pencil, his hands trembled. Everything had started with Marcus. If Marcus didn't come back, John was finished. 4th day, a guard opened the door. "You have a visitor." John was shocked. Visitor? He was taken to visiting room. Small sterile room. Table in middle, 2 chairs. Sarah was sitting across from him. Worried but determined expression on her face. Next to her was a man in suit looking serious. John said, Sarah standing up. "Please sit. I want to introduce you to someone." John slowly sat down. Heart beating fast. The man in suit leaned forward and extended his hand. "Hello, John. I'm David Richardson. I'm a lawyer." John was confused. "Lawyer? But I don't have money to hire a lawyer." Richardson smiled. "You don't need to hire me. I want to take on your case for free." John froze. "What? Why?" Sarah intervened. "John I told Mr. Richardson your story. And I showed him your drawings. And he examined your file. And John, there are serious problems with your case." Richardson pulled out a file. "John, on the street where you were arrested that night, there were 3 security cameras. But no camera footage was presented in court. I did my own investigation and found those recordings. And John, those recordings prove your innocence." John's world stopped. "What did you say?" "In the camera footage, you're clearly visible," said Richardson. "When gunshots come, you're sitting under the street lamp. You don't move at all. You don't run, don't escape, don't do anything. You just sit and draw. The actual gunfire is coming from another street. And the real suspects are running in another direction." Tears flowed from John's eyes. "So I really am innocent. I have proof." "Yes," said Richardson. "And this is just the beginning. I also talked to witnesses who were there that night. An elderly woman, a shopkeeper, and a taxi driver. They all confirm you were just drawing there. But none were heard in court. Your lawyer didn't find these witnesses or didn't even bother to look. John put hands to his face. He couldn't believe it. But why now? Why after all this time? Sarah leaned forward. Because I saw your drawings, John. And I felt your innocence. Art doesn't lie. In your drawings there's not a criminal's but a victim's pain. I called Mr. Richardson and told him your story. He investigated and found the truth. Richardson nodded. John, tomorrow I'm filing a retrial request with the court. With the evidence I have, your acquittal is almost certain. But you need to be patient. Legal processes take time. John started crying. But this time, for the first time, they were tears of happiness. Thank you, he said in broken voice. Thank you. To both of you. I don't deserve this. Sarah put her hand on John's hand. No, John. You deserve exactly this. And more. But the most shocking thing was what Marcus would think about this. That day when John returned to his cell, Marcus was there. Sitting on his bed, had lost weight, was pale but alive. When John entered through door, he froze. Marcus! He shouted and ran and hugged him. You came back. Marcus smiled. Tired but happy smile. Yes, my boy. I came back. But you, why do you look so happy? John told him everything. The lawyer, the camera footage, the witnesses, the retrial chance. As he spoke, his eyes sparkled. Marcus listened. Quietly, carefully listened. And finally took a deep breath. This is great news, John. You deserve this. You should get out of here. John looked at him. But you'll get out too, right? Marcus shook his head. No, John. I'll stay here. My story is different. I'm actually guilty. John was shocked. What? No, it can't be. You're a good person. You helped me. And that's the only good thing I've done, said Marcus quietly. Now what you see is nothing. John the First never told you, but I need to tell you why I'm here, said Marcus. Marcus took a deep breath and started telling his story. 25 years ago, I was a painter. Just like you. Art was my life. I was married, had a son. Life was beautiful. But then everything changed. My wife got sick. Cancer. Treatments were very expensive. We had no insurance. I worked and worked, but it wasn't enough. We ran out of money. Marcus's voice was trembling. And then one night I made a mistake. I tried to rob a pharmacy. To get medicine. But everything went wrong. The pharmacist tried to stop me. We fought. And he died. There was no intent, it was an accident, but the result didn't change. A man died. And I became a murderer. John's mouth fell open. He couldn't speak. Marcus continued. My wife died without receiving treatment. My son was sent to orphanages. And I came here. Life sentence. I've been here for 25 years. And I'll die here. But you're sorry, said John. You're a good person. Regret doesn't bring a man back, said Marcus. I'm paying the price for what I did. And I accept it. But you're different, John. You really are innocent. And you shouldn't be here. You should be outside free. And you should share your art with the world. John cried. Marcus hugged him. Don't cry, my boy. This is a good thing. You'll be saved. And I will live to see you succeed. Now what you see is nothing. Weeks passed. Court process began. Richardson did a great job. He presented camera recordings, brought witnesses to court, exposed errors in the old trial. The prosecutor objected, resisted, but evidence was too strong. During this process, Sarah's exhibition plan was progressing. Prison administration allowed an outside art gallery to organize exhibition at prison. John's works were carefully selected and framed. Each drawing was a piece of John's soul. When exhibition day came, hundreds of people came to gallery. Artists, collectors, journalists, activists, everyone wanted to hear John's story and see his works. Walls were filled with John's drawings. Cell walls, Marcus's portrait, imaginary freedom, landscapes, symbols of pain, lights of hope, everything was there. When people looked at drawings, they fell silent. Some cried. An art critic wrote, "John's works are the most powerful protest against injustice. Every line is a scream, every shadow is a tear. This young man is not just an artist, he's a survivor." On exhibition evening, John sat in his cell listening to news on radio. The announcer was telling John's story. 18-year-old John was sentenced to prison for being in wrong place at wrong time. But his art didn't break him. On the contrary, it made him stronger. Now the whole city is talking about his story. John closed his eyes. He couldn't believe it. Just a few months ago, nobody even knew his name. Now everyone was talking about him. Marcus smiled. "See? Art is powerful, John. You're changing the world." You won't believe it, but the biggest surprise hadn't come yet. A week later, court gave its final decision. Hall was packed. Journalists, supporters, Sarah Richardson, and dozens of people were there for John. John was sitting in defendant's chair, heart beating out of his chest. Judge stood up and read verdict. "Mr. John, this court has reviewed all evidence. It has determined serious errors in old trial. And now, as this court, we give this verdict. We acquit you of all charges. You are innocent and will be released immediately." Courtroom echoed with applause. People stood up, shouted, cried. John collapsed in his chair. Tears flowed like flood from his eyes. Sarah ran and hugged him. Richardson smiled and nodded. John was free. Finally, at last, he was free. When prison doors opened wide, John looked inside one last time. In corridors, prisoners had stopped and were looking at him. Some were applauding, some were smiling. And in very back, behind iron bars, Marcus was standing. The old man looked at him and smiled. In his eyes were pride, happiness, and deep sadness. John waved to him. Marcus waved back too. "Thank you," John shouted. "For everything, thank you." Marcus nodded his head. "Just keep drawing," he shouted. "Just keep living." And doors closed. John was outside. Sun was hitting his face, wind was waving his hair. He was free. Everyone had learned the truth, but the real shock was what John would do next. First day of freedom, John sat in a cafe. Hot coffee in his hand, blank paper and new pencil set in front of him. But he couldn't draw. He just watched outside. People, cars, birds, trees. And he couldn't believe he was free. Sarah came to him. "How are you?" John smiled. "It doesn't feel real. Like a dream." Sarah sat down. "The exhibition is still going on. And I know many collectors want to buy your works. John, you're now a famous artist." John nodded. "But I just want one thing. I want Marcus to be here too. He did everything for me. But he's still there." Sarah quietly put her hand on John's hand. "I know. But Marcus made his own choice. And the best thing for you is to use the gift he gave you in the best way. Keep drawing. Keep living. He wants that." John wiped his eyes. "You're right. I'll draw. Not just for myself, but for Marcus too. And for his son too." Sarah was surprised. "Son? Marcus has a son?" John froze. "Don't you know? Marcus had told me." And at that moment John understood. Marcus hadn't told him everything yet. That night John called prison. He wanted to talk to Marcus. But guard gave him bad news on phone. Marcus was taken to hospital. His condition is critical. John panicked. He ran to hospital. Marcus was in intensive care. Doctors didn't want to let John in, but John begged. Please. He's my family. He gave me everything. Please. Finally they allowed it. When John entered room, Marcus was lying in bed. Machines were connected, breathing was difficult. But his eyes were open. John, Marcus whispered. You came. John held his hand. Yes, I came. And I'm not leaving. Marcus smiled. Weak, tired, but real smile. You're free. You're outside. I'm very happy. You'll get better too, said John. Marcus shook his head. No, John. My time has come. But I'm ready. Because I saw you. You're my second chance. You're my redemption. John was crying. Please don't go. I need you. No, said Marcus. You don't need me anymore. You're strong. You'll survive. And you will draw for my son. John froze. Your son? You never told me about him. Marcus took a deep breath. Because it's too painful. But now I must tell you. And Marcus told his last story. My son was also 18 years old like you. His name was also John. Just like you, he loved art. Just like you, he was innocently thrown into prison. But I couldn't help him. I was already inside. And he broke here. He fell into despair. And one night he hanged himself. John's world stopped. What? Yes, said Marcus through tears. I couldn't save him. But I could save you. You're his second chance. You're his dream. And I took my last breath to see you get free. Marcus pulled out an old photograph from his pocket. In photo was a young man and a small child. The man was Marcus. The child looked like John. This is my son, said Marcus. And you look so much like him. Maybe this isn't a coincidence. Maybe the universe gave me a second chance. And I used that chance. John took photograph and cried. His name was also John? Yes. And now you're both your own John and his John. Now draw. Now live. Now be free. For yourself and for him. Marcus closed his eyes. His breathing slowed. And then it stopped. The machine made a flat sound. Doctors came running. But John knew. Marcus was gone. John sat there holding Marcus's hand and cried. But this time they weren't just tears of pain. These were tears of gratitude. These were tears of love. These were tears of farewell. Thank you, John whispered. For everything, thank you. I'll never forget you. When they thought it was over, the real miracle was beginning. A week later John went to Marcus's funeral. The ceremony was small. Just John, Sarah Richardson, and a few prisoner friends. But John had prepared something special for Marcus. He placed a drawing on Marcus's coffin. It was a drawing of Marcus and his son together. Both were smiling, both were free. Title: Finally Together. People cried. John cried too. But at same time there was peace inside him. Marcus wasn't suffering anymore. Marcus was now with his son. After funeral, Sarah gave John an envelope. This is for you from Marcus, she said. When he was taken to hospital, he gave this to me and said if something happens, give this to John. John opened envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear John, if you're reading this letter, I'm no longer with you. But this isn't a farewell. This is a thank you. This is a message of hope. You weren't just a cellmate to me. You're like my son's soul. He was also kind like you, talented like you, innocently punished like you. But I couldn't help him. He broke and lost himself. I couldn't save him. But I could save you. And that's enough for me. That's redemption for me. Now go, John. Draw. Live. Be free. For yourself and for him. And remember, art isn't just a talent. Art is the most beautiful way to hold on to life. I love you, son. Both of you. Marcus. John put down letter and cried. For a long time. And then he stood up. I'll draw now, he said with determination. I'll live now. Not just for myself, but for Marcus and his son too. Wait a minute, don't miss this detail. That same night John received another letter. This one was from Thomas Marcus's old friend. Inside envelope was money. Significant amount. Marcus had saved it over years in prison. And he wanted it used for John's art studio. John should have his own place, Marcus had said. Let those who go there find hope. John collapsed to floor and cried. Marcus had died, but he was still protecting him. Still helping him. Still believing in him. Thank you, John whispered. I'll use this money in the best way. I'll keep your name alive. 3 months later John opened an art studio. Small but warm place. White walls, wide windows inside filled with natural light. Name, Marcus's Workshop, a hope in every line. Studio wasn't just for John to work. This was open place for everyone. Especially for disadvantaged youth, those living on street, those who had been in prison, and those forgotten by society. Here everyone could take free art lessons. John was there every day, teaching, listening, giving hope. On opening day, hundreds of people came. Sarah Richardson, old prisoner friends, journalists, art lovers, everyone wanted to see Marcus's workshop. Above door was large banner, in memory of Marcus John Harrison, hope never dies. John made a speech. This place exists because of one man's love. Marcus didn't just give me a pencil. He gave me life. And now I want to share this life with others. If you've also lost your hope, if you also feel alone, if you also want to tell something, this is your home. Because here everyone is seen. Everyone is heard. Everyone matters. People applauded. Some cried. And that day first student came. It was Daniel, a young man John had met in prison. He had just been released. When he saw John he ran and hugged him. You came, said John happily. Of course I came, said Daniel. You gave me hope. Now I want to learn too. From that day on, Marcus's workshop grew rapidly. New faces came every day. Some wanted to learn painting, some just wanted to talk, some just wanted to be there. John opened his doors to everyone. Workshop became not just art center but a family. One day while John was working in workshop, door knocked. A young woman came in. She was in her 30s, eyes were red as if she had cried a lot. John, said woman in trembling voice. Yes, I'm John. How can I help you? Woman took step forward. I'm Marcus's daughter-in-law. I mean former daughter-in-law. Marcus's son's mother. John froze. Breath caught. Now what you see is nothing. What? John couldn't speak. Woman started crying. I hadn't looked for Marcus for years. Because I was so angry. When he went to prison, my son and I were left behind. My son also eventually fell into prison. And he lost himself. I blamed Marcus. But then I heard your story. And I learned what Marcus did with you. And I understood that Marcus was sorry. And he tried to save his own son through you. John approached woman. What is your name? Elizabeth, said woman. Elizabeth, said John gently. Marcus talked about you and your son every day. He never lost his love for you. He was very sorry. And he cried every day for your son. Elizabeth cried sobbing. I should forgive him. But he's gone now. John put hand on Elizabeth's shoulder. Marcus is still here. Because he lives in this place, in these walls, in these drawings. And if you want, you can be part of this place too. Elizabeth raised head. How? Help us here, said John. Let's keep Marcus's memory alive together. Let's give hope to young people. Just like Marcus gave me. Elizabeth nodded through tears. Yes. Yes, I will. And so Elizabeth became part of workshop too. She counseled young people, listened to them, supported them. John and Elizabeth together continued Marcus's legacy. Now what you see is nothing. Year later John's book was published. The Man Who Drew in Darkness, John and Marcus's story, immediately entered bestseller lists. When people read story, they cried, were inspired, took action. All proceeds from book went to foundation providing legal aid to young people unjustly imprisoned. John began giving speeches nationwide. At universities, prisons, schools, conferences, everywhere he told Marcus's and his own story. Justice should be for everyone, he would say. And art is most powerful weapon against injustice. Media began to see John as hero. But John didn't see himself as hero. I'm just a survivor, he would say. Real hero is Marcus. And one day John received incredible offer. International Art Museum wanted to exhibit John's works. Not just his own works, but also works by other young people from workshop. Exhibition name, Lines of Hope, Marcus's Legacy. John said yes to offer. But on one condition. Marcus's portrait will be at center of exhibition. Because this exhibition exists because of him. When exhibition opened, thousands of people came. Artists, collectors, critics from all over world came. And they all said same thing. This exhibition isn't just art. This is a movement. This is a revolution. John made speech at opening of exhibition. With microphone in hand, standing in front of hundreds of people. When I was 18 years old, one night I was in wrong place. And my life changed. I lost my freedom. I lost my identity. I lost my hope. But then a man came. Marcus. He gave me a pencil. And he said, draw. Just draw. And I drew. And as I drew, I found myself. As I drew, I survived. As I drew, I became free. People listened silently. John continued. Marcus is no longer among us. But his spirit is everywhere. In these drawings, in these young people, in this workshop. And I made him a promise. I'll draw every day. I'll live every day. For myself, for his son, and for everyone forgotten. Because art can save us. Art can give us hope. Art can give us freedom. People stood up and applauded. Some cried, some shouted. And at that moment John understood. Marcus's death wasn't an end. It was a beginning. You won't believe it, but greatest miracle hadn't happened yet. Few weeks after exhibition, John received letter. Letter came from prison. But from prison he didn't know. He opened letter. Dear John, my name is Carlos. I'm 35 years old and I've been in prison for 10 years. I read your book. I heard your story. And I cried. Because your story is my story. I was innocent too. I was in wrong place too. And I got lost here too. But your book gave me hope. The hope Marcus gave you is now in me. I want to ask you for something. If possible, can you come to my prison? There are young people here too. They need hope too. Someone like you touching them might change their lives. Please think about it. Carlos. When John finished letter his eyes filled. Marcus's spirit was still spreading. Hope was still growing. Yes, said John aloud. I'll come. And so John began new mission. Not just in prison in his own city, but in every prison across country he began giving art classes. Every week different prison, every week different faces. But story was same. Pain, loneliness, hopelessness. And John gave same thing to each one, pencil and hope. 2 years later John won international award. Humanitarian Service Award. It was world-renowned award and was given to John for combining art and justice. Award ceremony was in large hall, hundreds of important people were there. When John went on stage, applause lasted for minutes. John approached microphone. This award isn't mine, he said. This award is Marcus's. This award belongs to every young person forgotten in prison. This award belongs to everyone who has suffered injustice. I'm just tool. Real power is in art itself. People applauded again. This foundation will provide legal support, art education and rehabilitation services to young people unjustly imprisoned all over world. Hall stood up. Applause was loud and emotional. That night when John returned to hotel room, he looked out window. City lights were shining, stars were in sky. And at that moment John saw Marcus. Was it imagination, dream, or real? He didn't know. But Marcus was there with him. You did it, son, said Marcus. John smiled. No, we did it. Now go, said Marcus. There's still lot of work to do. There are still many young people to save. Won't you go? Asked John. Marcus smiled. I'm always here. When you draw, I'm there. When you give hope, I'm there. Because you're my son. You're both. And Marcus slowly faded. John cried, but they were happy tears. 5 years later Marcus's Legacy Foundation grew worldwide. In 15 countries, in 40 prisons there were programs. Thousands of young people were receiving art education, hundreds of wrongful convictions had been corrected, dozens of young people had gained their freedom. John still drew every day. Still taught every day. Still thought of Marcus every day. And in corner of every picture he drew was small signature, for MJH, hope never dies. One day while John was working in workshop, young child came in. Child was 10 years old, shy, had drawing notebook in hand. Excuse me, said child. Are you John? Yes, said John. I'm John. Who are you? I'm Alex, said child. And I also love drawing. But my mom and dad don't allow it. They say there's no future. But I read your story. And I also want to draw with you. John smiled. He looked at child and saw Marcus. He saw himself. He saw all future artists. He saw hope continuing through generations. Come, said John, kneeling down to child's level. Let me give you pencil. He pulled out pencil from his pocket. Same kind Marcus had given him years ago. Worn simple but full of possibility. Alex took pencil with trembling hands. Just like John had done. Just like Marcus's son had probably done. Cycle was continuing. You know what this is? Asked John gently. Alex looked at pencil. It's just pencil, he said. John shook head. No, Alex. This isn't just pencil. This is hope. This is freedom. This is your voice. And as long as you hold this, nobody can take away who you are. Alex's eyes widened. Really? Really, said John. Now what do you want to draw first? Alex thought for a moment. Then smiled. I want to draw you. Because you're my hero. John's eyes filled with tears. But this time they were tears of pure joy. Because at that moment he understood. Marcus's gift hadn't ended with him. It was multiplying. Every person he touched would touch another. Every hope he gave would create more hope. Every line drawn would inspire 1,000 more lines. That evening, after Alex left with his first drawing clutched proudly in his hands, John sat alone in workshop. He looked around at walls covered with artwork from hundreds of students. Each piece told story. Each piece was someone's survival. Each piece was proof that Marcus's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. He walked to center of room where Marcus's portrait hung. Largest piece in entire workshop. John had painted it himself years ago, pouring every ounce of love and gratitude into every brushstroke. "Thank you," John whispered to portrait. "Thank you for seeing me when nobody else did. Thank you for giving me pencil when I had nothing. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And thank you for teaching me that love doesn't end with death. It multiplies through every life we touch." Wind blew through open window, rustling papers on tables. And for a moment John could swear he heard Marcus's voice. "Keep drawing, son. Keep living. Keep loving. Because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us free." John nodded. "I will," he said. "I promise." And as sun set over city, casting golden light through workshop windows, John picked up his pencil and began to draw. Because that's what survivors do. That's what artists do. That's what humans do. They create. They hope. They endure. And most importantly, they pass it on. Because art never dies. Hope never dies. And love lasts forever, echoing through generations, touching hearts, changing lives one pencil stroke at a time. Marcus's legacy wasn't just in John. It was in Daniel, in Elizabeth, in Carlos, in Alex, and in thousands of others whose lives had been touched by simple act of giving someone pencil and believing in them. The man who drew in darkness had become man who brought light to others. And that light would never ever go out.